Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. Welcoming back Adam Martin. We may be a little sleepy, maybe on my part for the most part, but we do have a Super Bowl champion. The Seattle Seahawks beat the New England Patriots in San Francisco to be crowned Super Bowl champions of Super Bowl 60, a 29-13 scoreline. A lot to talk about, a lot to unpack in terms of Seattle and New England, and maybe even looking to the future as well into next season. So we'll focus on Seattle to kick things off. They are the Super Bowl champions. A game that did not exactly scream fun for the neutral. This is massively why, Adam, when I talk American football to most people in general, the thing that they mostly say is, "Oh, I don't watch it, nor do I like it, but I'll watch the Super Bowl, or I have watched Super Bowls." And I always go, if you want to advertise the American football, don't watch the Super Bowl. It's not ever the most fun game. It's been a while since we've had a shootout. It's very cagey. It's very defensive. It tends to be either both or one of the best defenses in the league. So I wouldn't ever do that. It's exactly what was advertised, isn't it? Like two very good defenses and two slow. Well, it was too slow to go offenses, but even from we've said before, I love defensive football. Even for me, it was a little boring is not the word, but
I don't know. It might have been.
Let's just say we started doing immaculate grids for NFL players.
I think if you ever wanted to sell it to a new person watching, I think Championship weekend is a good one, or sort of like the wild card playoff games. I around that sort of time, I think that's when you want to watch it. It wasn't fantastic. I feel like I was probably on my phone a little bit too much compared to what I should have been. And to be brutally honest, very little happened in the first 3 quarters of the game. Really, it was pretty dull, and it wasn't until the funny thing was, it wasn't until it was over that something actually started happening in a weird kind of way. It was almost like once the Seahawks went 19-0 up, you kind of went, well, this is over. They're not coming back from this. But at the same time, I think it kind of loosened the Patriots up a little bit. And so we did get a little bit more action. But yeah, it was just a bit of a slow one, and not a lot happened, and all very cagey. But cagey from one side and just pretty much nothing from the other.
Well, he went from hero to zero, back to hero again. Sam Darnold, he has won the Super Bowl. The only thing he didn't win was the MVP, which went to Kenneth Walker, which we did say in the third. I think if anyone's going to be, it would take Darnold to throw 2 touchdowns here in the next 18 minutes, I think it was around then, for us to go, right, Darnold is the MVP. Walker won the MVP award, but Darnold played once again a cultured game, like an experienced game. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, didn't we? Where taking sacks instead of just trying to make something happen, playing it conservatively, playing it smart. Like I've listened to a couple of podcasts on the. I went back to Leicester to watch it with friends and with Andrew and friends and family back home. And I've come back today listening to a lot of the stuff on the way back on the train, and we've had game managers in Super Bowls as well, but this guy isn't Jimmy Garoppolo. That's a one that we always said that Jimmy Garoppolo is a game manager, and there's other quarterbacks like that. Sam Darnold is it. He has played himself, I think, into a top 10 quarterback conversation, maybe even a top 5 quarterback conversation. In fact, the Seattle Seahawks have played themselves into a Super Bowl contender thing for, I think, the next few years. Now, we've said this a few times about other teams. I think that was one thing today, as I've noticed a lot in the media of NFL, is a bit of rose-tinted glasses. And I've said it a lot of times, haven't I? the NFL can be such a recency bias sport where we forget how good some teams are or how bad they were at some given points as well. I mean, Seattle through halfway through the season, they took a dip, but they were still on the way, and they've come through some adversity with some of their injuries. Zach Charbonnet looked like he was going to take the starting role pretty much half of the season, and now Kenneth Walker has just played an MVP game in the Super Bowl. Now, it sometimes doesn't matter even if you do play an MVP game in the Super Bowl, you can be gone the next minute. But I think the Seattle team have just been built, and we were given so much credit to McDonald, the head coach, to John Schneider, the GM, that this team has been crafted to be really successful, I think, for quite a while.
Yeah, it does feel like they've got a very good chance of keeping this going for some time. They've got an insane amount of cap space. They've got an incredibly young defense that is looking really, really good. And they've gone and got themselves a quarterback who, I suppose at the end of the day, he kind of is a bit of a game manager and a system quarterback, but it works. So what's the problem, kind of thing? I think
when the system's this good, there's no problem.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter, does it? It's like he doesn't need to be like someone like Patrick Mahomes running around out the back making insane plays, because the system works. So it's okay. I think what the one thing that I think epitomized the change in Darnold, and I think that this is, I listened to something earlier and they were talking about how Kyle Shanahan had come out and said that he felt like when Darnold was at the 49ers that they're getting a lot of credit for not really doing a lot, and it was just more about just giving the guys some confidence. And I think that the sort of the thing that you saw was just the ability and the confidence in him to manage that game. Even when the game is arguably done and you're miles ahead, he just slid down towards the end of the game because it didn't go how it was meant to, that particular play. He knew that he was in trouble and he just went down. And it's like, I remember him at the Jets and running around like a madman, trying to create, like a Mahomes style play. And there wasn't any need for it. And he understands that now. And I think that it really goes to show, because I put a thing out last night on Twitter just coming out and saying, well, it goes to show about coaching, doesn't it? It goes to show that if you give the guy some time, if you give him some confidence, if you've got good coaches around him, then it'll work. And all of a sudden you sort of start thinking, so all of these guys that have come through the draft and they've ended up at the Jets, at the Browns, at the Cardinals, I think there are certain things you need to have certain traits about you. So I'm not saying Kyler Murray's suddenly going to be amazing if he gets a good coach, but it's like, I feel like there are certain things where you can do that and you can have that. And maybe we're all just a little bit too quick to judge on some of these quarterbacks and that they need to be given a bit more time. But he's played himself into getting probably an improved contract at the Seahawks, I would have thought, and probably for a decent amount of time as well. I think he's done pretty well.
I think if you were looking contractually, I just think he screams to me someone who's going to have team-friendly contracts the rest of his career and be quite happy with that. And I don't think he's looking for that big bucks. But not to get like too not emotional or like philosophical or whatever, but like this is why we like love sport, is for the stories like Sam Darnold. Like he was completely, he was losing. He lost his job at the Jets. He got cut there. He went to the Carolina Panthers, got benched there for Baker Mayfield. Both subsequently have left their starting franchises, have dotted around and have been a huge success post that. And it just shows you, like, it's we've said it for a couple of weeks, haven't we? And I think it is Colin Cowherd quote that I've heard this from, but young quarterbacks don't ruin franchises. Franchises ruin young quarterbacks. It is about coaching. It is about nurturing. It is about holding people up and just and just developing them in the right way and not throwing them to the wolves, protecting them a little bit, giving them that confidence. Like I said, Shanahan, that's great of Shanahan to come out, and he said quite a few things. He said pre-game, I think, that if the Seattle team go forward, that, you know, Patriots haven't got a chance really, which is not really what most people say. Really, like most coaches don't, you know, they try to be a bit more 50-50, credit to both teams, etc. But that's how good the Seattle team is, and that's how good they know that Sam Darnold is, and it's humbling to hear him be like, you know, we just nurtured a guy that had it already, and we said it last night. We sat around together last night, and I said about it to the guys, like, look, like, it's this Sam Darnold's thing's been crazy. What crazy whirlwind, you know, from being that bad and people thinking that bad. And Andrew said it. I never thought it was bad. I never thought it was bad. He was good when he was at college. He was good when he came into the draft. We said he should have been the number one. Some people wanted him to be the number one pick. Mm-hmm. And he's always had it. He's had that mentality. And I've had the privilege of interviewing him when he was at Minnesota here in London. And he came across as a guy that seemed, you know, level-headed, eager to learn, eager to be educated, eager to develop, you know. And I think you just said it a moment ago. I think when we're looking at players now coming into the league, or even been in the league for a while, we spoke about it the other week, who's going to be the next Sam Darnold. I don't think it's just a quarterback. I think it's every player. I think every player in all facets. We shouldn't be counting anybody out now within this game when they move around. I mean, Johnny, who's a great friend of the podcast, used to do a little bit on the franchise tag here. He said it about, you know, he said it's not just Sam Darnold in the quarterback position. Look at some of the guys who have been at the Jags. He went Francis Ngakwe, the edge rusher. He was like, he couldn't do anything at the Jags. And then he went on to have a great career, he bounced around a little bit, but he seemed to be pretty good in a lot of other places. And he was like, I think the Jags have ruined some of these players. But we had some really good guys at some point, and we let them go, and they went on to do really great things. So I just think it can be situational, and like, you know, credit to Sam Darnold to go through this journey and to come out the other side to be a Super Bowl champion, to have played. He played really well in this game. Okay, the offense didn't really do much, but I think that's credit to the Patriots defense. I think the defense of the Patriots was very good in the first half. And I think that they really went balls to the wall first half. And when, you know, they blitzed, what was the blitz percentage was like the highest for Darnold dealt with all year or something like that.
Yeah, it was something crazy, wasn't it? The blitz.
Yeah, I think they went, we can't go behind against these.
Yeah. Because
they were just punishers. And I think, when I reflect on it now and more I think about it, I don't think Seattle got out of second gear. Not really.
Well, one thing I was really going to say, there's a lot of talk about the sort of, Mike McDonald's a genius and how amazing the defense is and all of that stuff. And when you think about it and you look back and you see highlights of it, they didn't do anything special. Like, they really didn't. A lot of it was just blitzing from a long way back. You had like Devin Witherspoon blitzing from a long way back. And, you know, I gave a lot of criticism to the left side of the O-line for the Patriots, but it wasn't. It was actually the right as well. It was the whole O-line. They just couldn't cope with it when they were being blitzed against them, when Seattle were putting pressure on them. But Seattle weren't giving them any like really crazy exotic looks or anything like that. It wasn't like they were hiding people and all of a sudden they just popped up out of nowhere. A lot of it was pretty standard stuff that we've seen in the NFL for a long time. And that's not having a go at Seattle. That's just basically coming out and saying they're an incredibly well-run defense that we're all on the same page, knew exactly what to do. And basically the Patriots just couldn't cope with it.
Just studs across the board. I mean, they were saying about earlier on another podcast about, you know, the drafting and how well they've drafted, and, you know, they're getting like 3 players out of a draft that are like stud guys. And even when they got Witherspoon, what was it, pick 5? That was
he was top bit, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure it was the 5th pick. I remember he was not seen as the best cornerback in that class. It was seen as a bit of a like, he's going to be good, but like, maybe would have gone with another guy. Now I can't remember who the other guys were for the life of me.
Well, the other guy was on the other team.
Oh, Gonzalez.
Yeah, they went the same year.
Right. Really? Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Come to think of it, yeah, it was Gonzalez, wasn't it? And I think at the time we were surprised that Gonzalez didn't
Yeah,
Um,
go above him.
wouldn't
Yeah.
go over him.
Yeah.
But I mean, massive shout out, credit to Aidan Durd, the defensive coordinator for Seattle. Obviously from the UK. That I say obviously because if you're a UK listener, you're going to have heard about that a lot over the last few days. And congratulations to him. Do you think next coaching cycle we might see it?
Do you know, it's really difficult because logic suggests that he would, given what's happened. And if he's going to stay and they have another really good season, you would think, yeah. But Mike McDonald is the guy who's calling all the defensive plays. So it does kind of put a limit to what is being done by him. But yeah, I think that probably it would be surprising if he didn't get certainly a few interviews. I would expect, just purely coming from the fact that he's done what he's done here. Obviously, there's only the card. No, there's none left now, is there? They've all been done for this year because Clint Kubiak's going to the Raiders. So they've all been done for this year. So yeah, I think if he has another good year, which when you look at that defense, you look at how young they are. They've got a ton of cap space, as I've said, so they can bring back some of the veterans if they want to, or they can improve it if they want to. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why that defense shouldn't be really good again. And you got to think to yourself, if you can, you are the defensive coordinator, you've had a Super Bowl win. It does feel like now it's kind of a matter of time before he gets a head coaching job.
With Kubiak has pretty much been announced straight the next day, which I did think was very strange timing. I know that it was rumored, but like it was literally this morning, our time, that it suddenly came out, and I was like, "Geez, they don't hang around in the NFL, do they?" He's celebrating, having his cigars, and getting on a plane. I mean, you could probably drive from San Francisco to Vegas, pretty much to go and coach there. Losing the offensive coordinator, right? We've seen it in other places where it does have a detrimental factor, a detrimental problem with the teams. Do you think that they're going to be the favourites next season? Obviously, that always happens. Is the winner of the Super Bowl becomes the favourite? The face you're pulling, I completely agree because I know where you're going with it.
I know exactly
they're not, but they are going to be in the conversation with going back to the Super Bowl next season. Do you? Because you're reading my mind, I'm reading your mind. I think the Rams are the favourite next season again. Do you think they can maintain this success, though? If they're losing the offensive coordinator, I think pieces-wise, I think they go out and get another wide receiver. I think they maybe look at second tight end. You could go someone better than Barner or someone not as good and have a bit of a dual tight end thing. And then I think it's just sort of replacing Lawrence and also Richardson in the middle. It's Richardson, right? No.
For the O-line?
The defensive tackle. No, defensive tackle.
Sorry. Yeah, on the defense. So you've got so DeMarcus Lawrence, I think, is a potential free agent, and I can't remember. They've got a couple, but the other one, the big one is Ken Walker.
Yeah.
Because having done that, and also it's not just that, it's the playoff run as well that he's had. But having done what he's done in the Super Bowl as well, he's a free agent. Are they going to be able to pay him? I'm sure I'm sure that you would think he would want to stay, but are they going to be able to pay him compared to what other teams might want to pay him, sort of thing? So it depends if they can do that. But yeah, I mean, they obviously losing your OC is going to be difficult. You've got to replace him with someone. It doesn't necessarily mean that it'll all be the same, but we have seen with most teams that when it kind of drops off and goes wrong, it's because they've lost both the OC and the DC. So the fact that they're still going to have this really strong defense, it does kind of, and also the other thing is, as good as obviously Darnold has been, it does kind of feel like they don't need to win with the offense. Like they can win with the defense. Obviously, they need the offense to be able to do something and contribute. But it feels like they don't need to do that all the time. So I think they'll probably be okay with that. It's just a matter of who they find, really. And like you say, they've got the money, so they should be able to bring these guys back if they want to and have another go at it. So I think they're in a really good spot, and they're definitely top two. that like them and the Rams. I think it's just that. I mean, there are other teams, and obviously it feels like it's predominantly NFC at the moment. It does feel like it's switched to NFC, and the AFC is kind of a little bit more unpredictable with what's happening. But yeah, it feels very much like it's them and the Rams, and there's no real reason why they can't have another really good guy.
Let's turn the page of Super Bowl 60, the story of Super Bowl 60, and reflect on the losing side, the New England Patriots. Our colleague and esteemed friend, Sky Lawrence Pank, was in the stadium, was sat in the seat. Didn't hear a whole load from him, obviously. Was quite upset with with the game. One word for me with New England Patriots: experience. It's experience. I honestly don't think they played a bad game. I don't think they were bad. I just think Seattle are that good in a way. And I just think it all whittles down to experience. I think Drake May, he needs 1 or 2 more years. This is probably the biggest game. This is obviously the biggest game anyone ever plays. But this playoff run is the biggest games he didn't go to Ohio State. He didn't go to Alabama. He didn't go to Michigan. He went to Carolina. He went to UNC, not a notoriously huge college program that plays these lights out games in humongous stadiums in college. They won 4 games last year. This run he's had has been tremendous. He has played unbelievable this season. But it's the exact same thing that I've sort of said since really they were getting good is I just think they're 1 or 2 years away. I think they're 1 or 2 years away in terms of talent, in terms of experience, and in terms of just having coaching staff and players all on the same team. Bear in mind, I know these guys have been to Super Bowls in whatever capacity, but not the same unit. The same unit hasn't all been there together. And they need to, and not even the Super Bowl, there's just the playoff run. That takes time. That takes time for an organization with a coaching unit and a key unit of players. I'm talking on the offensive and defensive side, your key captains, I suppose. It takes a moment in this league for you to get there. And I just think it showed massively from the Sam Darnold play and the Drake May play. Drake May played like Sam Darnold played at the Jets.
Yeah.
Just loose, not experienced, and a little bit deer in the headlights and a little bit, oh shit, what's going to happen? You know?
Yeah. I think the occasion clearly got to him. I think, and it's a funny one because we can come out and say experience and things like that, but it's like neither head coach had been to a Super Bowl before. Neither quarterback had been to a Super Bowl before. So I'm not saying it's all.
I am talking. Drake May's in his second year.
Yeah. I understand that. So I do get what you mean. I'm just saying it feels like I think what the overriding problem, and it's the problem that that I have been saying pretty much all season, is that they just haven't really played anyone. They shouldn't have been there. It's that simple. They're not good enough to be there at the moment. That doesn't mean that they can't be. And in theory, next year they should be much better. To me, like I say, watching the game, it felt so much that the left-hand side of that O-line just could not cope with anything. And that was where Will Campbell was, and that was where Wilson was. And they're both rookies. And then you've got a quarterback in Drake May who he's really struggled throughout this whole playoff run. Like he hasn't played well. There's been lots of fumbles. And in fairness to him, he didn't have many interceptions until the Super Bowl because I kind of felt like he never really had to push in them other games because as we said, they played a Chargers team with no O-line and the offense played bad. They played the Texans where CJ Stroud decided to just throw the ball away all the time. And then they played the Broncos who had the backup quarterback and they were in them conditions where really no one could score anything. And you just sort of think they had just an unbelievable run that got them there. And it's just something where it kind of feels like it's a shame for them, because I feel like it was an opportunity. This year was a massive opportunity for whoever got there, because so many of the sort of standard good teams fell away for whatever reason, and you sort of feel like they probably won't be gone for that long. But it, like you say, I think it has come a year or two too early for them. Obviously, next year, you look at their schedule, it's a much, much tougher schedule next year because of winning and getting to the Super Bowl and stuff like that. So it's a much tougher schedule. So it'd be really interesting to see what they do next year. But I think it's going to be a case of, in theory, they should improve. In theory, these guys, these rookies who they had out there, should improve as they play more games. And they've got lots of money, so they can bring in players as well if they want to. So they should be good, but I think it's going to be difficult for them to get back. And as we've said many times, it's always tough to get back to the Super Bowl. You look at Joe Burrow, it hasn't happened, has it? And I'm not saying that they're going to do what the Bengals have done, because I don't think they will. I think they're a better run organisation than that. But it is tough, and it's not something that's guaranteed. So I think it's just a lot of people got caught up in the fact that they were winning so many games. But when you actually look at it, there was a reason they were winning so many games. They weren't playing anyone.
They are probably the only team in Super Bowl history to be going to the Super Bowl, and really they're in a rebuild. They're in a complete rebuild. Like there is.
Was it 30 new players? I think they said.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I saw that on when I was watching it last night. I'm sure they came out and said that they had 30 new players that went into the building at the beginning of this season.
Well, and they are building, and yes, it is really tough to go back to the Super Bowl, but I think this team is in a position to go to be a playoff team most seasons. I think they are going to be in and around the hunt of it, because I think Drake May's just going to get better. I think he's just going to get better. Devoid of this game, he is going to improve. And you know what? I think there is something to be said for losing and getting there and losing. I think there is something. We've seen it on the flip side with Sam Darnold. There is something about adversity that can light a rocket up of sports people in general. Like, you see it, adversity in football. We've got the Olympics going on, the Winter Olympics going on at the minute. So the Olympians go for it. You see rugby players, cricket players, etc., etc., etc. The adversity for Drake may be this, and it may be the sort of the lighting the fuse to what is going to be an excellent career with him. And I think you look at the Chiefs. They've had adversity this year, but all Patrick Mahomes has known is success. Do you think that he's not coming away from this year after adversity thinking, you know what, we've just felt what it feels like to be really bad, and we don't want that to happen again? And you don't think Drake May's going to come away from this Super Bowl going, man, like I need to learn quick how to be a better quarterback? And you cannot tell me that he's not going to do that. Like, he is going to be wildly successful in New England. And I think this team is going to be wildly successful. It just needs to build. It's just 2 years away. They need more talent. You highlighted it. The O-line play last night was dreadful from them. Dreadful. The big thing today has been Will Campbell isn't a left tackle, isn't a tackle. He's a guard, really. It was the criticism when he got drafted, was the short arm thing. It matters. People might laugh at stuff like that. It matters. Like, these things do matter. The NFL draft, people who draft in the NFL know these things and knows what works. And the Kansas City Chiefs did it when they lost the Super Bowl the first time, when they got absolutely killed their O-line by Tampa. They went out and invested a huge amount of money in the O-line. I can imagine New England Patriots are going to do the exact same thing. I think they will sign maybe one tackle, two guards, maybe not even starters, maybe backups. They may even look in the draft as well. It might be they look for a big time left tackle. And wide receiver It's got to be. We've gone on about how well this unit has played this season, considering they are not notable names, but they need a notable name. They need a notable name. The AJ Brown stuff is going to reignite in the offseason. Brandon Ayuk's a name that's out there. He's probably not going to be at San Francisco. I think his contract's up, but there's going to be names in that market where people, or even draft, if they might look at a wide receiver in the end of the first or even the second. And then on the defensive side of it, again, we said it the other day with names and star power that they do need a little bit more as well. I think they're in a good spot. I think they're in a fantastic spot. I don't think they need much. I think it is more on the offense. They need to get someone under Hunter Henry as a second tight end, even to be like an heir apparent. They need better wide receivers. I think the running backs are in a good spot, and then it's the O-line, improving that O-line. And I really don't. It may be a while before we see these guys in the Super Bowl again. I don't think it's a stretch to say that they're going to be a playoff team for the next 4 years, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that they will be a playoff team. I think they'll be around for a while, and the fact that you've got the main piece in Drake May, it's like that's the biggest problem that you've solved already. It kind of almost feels to a certain extent. Maybe they don't need to go as dramatic as what the Bears did last year, but it's a similar sort of thing where they need to go out and spend the money on the O-line and get them veterans in that.
That was exactly what I was thinking when we were saying about the reinvesting of money and where they need to improve. They did it under Belichick, didn't they? Where they had all that money and they just went mental on the wrong guys.
Yeah, and you don't need to do that. It was too many guys as well.
Yeah, it was too many guys, and it was the wrong guys for them. And that's where I have a bit of faith in Vrabel and the organization to pick the right guys for them.
Yeah. I mean, they've got, what is it, 37 million in cap space. So it's not, it's not loads, but they've got a decent chunk there. They can bring in some solid O-line guys who can really make a difference for them. Like you say, you need to probably kick Will Campbell into guard and go and get yourself an actual left tackle. And I think that will make a world of difference for him. And it's like, and Campbell can still develop. He's still got plenty of time to do that, so that's fine. Look, the biggest concern with May is that when the pressure has come on, it seems like the performances have got poorer. But at the same time, so is the O-line. So it's like it's not all on one thing. It's kind of a bit of both. I think that it's just going to take him time, and it would mean that he, the more he plays, the more he gets used to them occasions, the better he'll get with them. And it's like you say, and as we've said, with everything, it's like a lot of these organisations, the poorly run ones, they're just not giving themselves enough time in order to try and sort something out. And if you do that, then I think that May will be perfectly fine there. It won't be a problem. It's just, I think the problem is it's just disappointing because obviously you've got there. And it does, like I say, it does kind of feel like a lot of these teams that are the sort of like the regular ones that have been in the playoffs over the last few years, they all fell away, whether that meant they got to the playoffs or not. It's like, it did kind of feel like it was a bit of a free-for-all and anyone could get there. And everything, all the stars aligned. That was the thing, wasn't it? It was almost like everything aligned for them in order to be able to get there. And then they turned up and it all just fell apart very, very quickly. I must admit, I wasn't overly keen on the play calling from Vrabel a lot of the time. I kind of felt like there were times when they could have gone for it and they didn't. And I understand that the downside to that is that it goes the other way and you end up getting further behind. But they were at a point, I think, where it was like they were 2-1, 3-1. And it's like, you're just getting stuffed, and it's like you've got to try something here. You're like 12 points down before the Seahawks got their touchdown, and you just sort of think you've got to try something, do something different. And it just kind of felt like he was reluctant to sort of put any kind of pressure on May, which I can understand. But once you reach that point, it kind of feels like you've got to do something here in order to be able to get this going. And actually, once they were 19 points down, it may seem much freer. And it was almost like the pressure had gone because it was like, right, it doesn't matter now. We're out. We're not going to get this. So let's just go out and do so. And all of a sudden, big plays suddenly started happening. Yeah. But before that, when it actually mattered, it felt like the play calling And I think, obviously, the offensive stuff, a lot of it's McDaniels. It felt like it was very sort of run heavy and kind of short passes, and almost like they were worried to put too much onto May,
Yeah.
which I get. But when you're there, you kind of got to go for it at times.
I think a big thing we all three of us, as me, you, and Sky, in the last episode said that for Patriots to win this game, they need to trust in Drake's
Legs.
his legs.
Yeah.
And that was
real. Where was that?
That was not anywhere. You know, they
No.
should have abandoned the run game. And okay, he wasn't getting enough protection to make them play some. You could argue he couldn't push the ball down the field because the protection wasn't good enough. But it would have allowed May an opportunity to scramble out and to use his legs. And I said at the start of the game, a good bet would be May to rush for over 30 yards, and he got 37. But I thought it should have been more like 50. You know, like
it felt like he never went forwards. He
Yeah.
never went forward, and he never went to the side. All he did was go backwards.
And on the flip with Darnold,
Darnold
his maneuverability
and move forward.
His pocket presence. Yes, Darnold isn't going to rip a 25-yard run or even a 15-yard run. You know, he's not that. He's athletic, but he's not that type of athlete. But his maneuverability and pocket presence and knowing where he needed to be, that was the, 5+ years experience he has over Drake May. I thought, like, it just showed that May hasn't had that experience yet, because everyone's comparison is Josh Allen. And what do the Bills do with Josh Allen? They rely on his legs, and because they know as well. And May's got that. May's got that. So why didn't they look at that more? We all called it, not that we bloody know anything about coaching NFL football, but it's so obvious.
I think the problem was the pressure was coming on so much from Seattle that it just sort of pushed May backwards. And I think this is where it was the sort of like the fact that he's not been playing as much and he is still only in his second year. Having that pressure on him has just pushed him backwards, when in reality he needed to push himself forwards and go past it. But I think that's what you're dealing with. But, it's something he'll learn from, and he'll, like you say, he'll get better. And the O-line will get better because they'll be able to invest in it, and that will help them out. I think, but based on what you see as a schedule next year for them, it's going to be very tough. And I think it's just that you've got a lot of teams that fell apart this year, and I just don't know if that's going to happen again.
Looking ahead to the 2027 Super Bowl 61. Now we're sort of talking about this pre-injuries, pre-free agency, pre-draft. It's still there's a lot of football to go, even though the football's over before the start of the season again. You said it's going to be more tough for the Patriots. Do you see both of these going to the playoffs next year? And if so, because we've said it before that usually some dip out, some dip in. Now, the obvious for the AFC side of the Patriots is the Chiefs will probably go to the playoffs next season. I think, though it's set that we don't really know where Mahomes is at just yet. Do we? I mean, some people are saying he could miss like up to 8 weeks next year. Knowing Patrick Mahomes, he could be there week 2. Like it could be. I think it's that broad at the minute. I mean, I'm not seeing anything reported else that any sort of timeline just yet for Mahomes, but you see the Chiefs probably going in. I mean, who else missed out? It's the Ravens, the Steelers drop out, the Ravens come in, maybe the Bengals come in.
So you've got some teams obviously that have missed out where there's been changes, and so things like a team like the Ravens, you do sort of think to yourself, will they suddenly be able to sort of come back? John Harbaugh was there for so long, and it's like things are going to change. I mean, Jesse Minter has been there before, so it's kind of like, just to a certain extent, it's kind of revitalizing the whole organization. So I do feel like the Ravens have got a good chance of getting back in there. The Colts were not far away from being a really good team, were they, when Daniel Jones was fit? I know a lot of it was on Jonathan Taylor, but if they're both doing the same again, then they've got a shout of coming back. The Bengals, to me, it felt like at the back end of the season, the defense improved a little bit, not loads, but it did improve. If that continues, You do bring in more players for the defense to help that out. Maybe with, all the time you got Burrow and Chase there, you got a chance. The Chiefs, I don't know about the Chiefs. Sorry?
Sorry, you go with the Chiefs, and then my question was: would this push out New England potentially?
I don't know about the Chiefs because I think Mahomes might miss quite a bit, and that obviously will just stop them from being able to do anything significant. If he misses 8 weeks, then they're not going to be going. It's that simple, I think. So that's going to be tough. But yeah, I mean, you've got them. You've got all them teams, and like you say, there's always one team, isn't there? There's always a team that does what the Patriots did. So you don't know. All you need is for one of them to suddenly get get their offense going and playing well. And who knows what they can do. So there's quite a few teams. I don't think it does knock the Patriots out, though.
Sorry, you don't think it does?
No, I don't think it does, because I think the Patriots are still going to be a good team. I know they've got a really strong schedule compared to what they've played this year, but logic and just how it normally works in the NFL, all these players that are there are going to get better for playing that year. Especially, they've got so many young players there that they will get better for playing this year. That they have got money, they can bring in O-line guys in order to help, and May will get better. So it just kind of feels a little bit like that they will keep doing well and they will improve. I don't expect them to go like 14-3. I think that's just being a bit unrealistic about it because of their schedule now. But I think that they could quite easily become a good team that will be fighting it out with the Bills. Because I don't think the Bills are going to necessarily be amazing under Joe Brady. That realistically, very little is probably changing there. When you think about it, it's the OC who's just been promoted. So I think that division is still going to be up for grabs for the Patriots. They could win it again. They could come second, but if they come second, they'll probably get a wild card spot. So I think they're still a playoff team.
And what about on the other side of it with Seattle? Because we've said that for both of us now. I mean, this is bold for us to both go. The Rams are going to win it next season, but you called it at the start of this season. Seattle now has the target on their back. People now know how good they are. It's very rare that you are it's rare now, really, in the modern era in terms of like the last 5+ years. I suppose it's not at the same time with Kansas. It's going back to back. Going to the Super Bowl back to back is hard enough as it is, but I don't see them bowing out. I think it'll be a fight for division. I don't necessarily think they'll win their division, and that's not me saying the Rams win it. The Niners could easily come back next season and be rejuvenated, revitalized, and look like a really great team as well. But do they go back, do you think?
To the playoffs, yeah, I don't think they will have a problem with reaching the playoffs. As you say, I think the Rams, the Niners, that they're really good teams. They're going to be difficult to take them out of the playoffs. To be honest, I think there's a very strong chance that this division stays as the strongest division in the NFL, and that all three of them make it. Again, when you look at other teams that are kind of not there, and do you feel like they're suddenly going to be able to jump up and do anything? I think the Lions have got a chance, obviously, of doing something. I think that if they can get their coordinators sorted out and get that going, then they'll be all right for them. I think they've got a chance of getting back in. Yeah, I think the Bucks were in a way. The Bucks were a little bit unlucky to lose out to the Panthers, so I think it could go either way with them too. Look, I'm not saying that they'll make it because I think it's unlikely, but I could see the Giants doubling their wins. Me and Andrew spoke about this. I could see them going from 4 wins to 8 wins. It doesn't get them in the playoffs, but it's close. So
it could get them sniffing around.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get to week 15 and you're sniffing around with 4 other teams. 5 other teams. It could easily be where you start in there. I would back that the NFC West gets 3 teams again. for
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
scheduling may
I
change
agree.
it a little bit, but I just
I think it will be. To be honest, with the AFC, I think there's a strong chance that you could get a lot of change again.
Mhm.
With the NFC, I think you might be looking at a similar type of teams getting there. I think you've got the three from the NFC West. The Panthers or Bucks, to be brutally honest, it's pretty much the same. And the Falcons actually are pretty much the same. They're not far off. So if the Saints could improve, I think it could go to any one of them, but only one of them will go.
yeah.
So I think that you'll have that. I think with the North, you've got, you know, the Bears, I think, are going to be a very difficult team to beat. I think the Packers are going to be a difficult team to beat. If they can get their main players back fit in time for the start of the season, and I think you've got two teams. But these are all the teams that got there last year. So I don't think much will change with the NFC side, but I think a lot potentially could change with the AFC because it was just so unpredictable, wasn't it, this year, where so many big name teams just disappeared.
Unpredictable it has been this season. Adam, thank you very much. Once again, congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks. They are Super Bowl 60 champions from San Francisco last night. It was a lot of fun watching it. Even if you didn't think the game was that fun, it's always fun watching it with friends. And I hope you all enjoyed it wherever you were, whether it was at home, at the pub, at friends' places, wherever you were. I hope you really, really enjoyed it because it's been a really, really remarkable season. We've had some really, really, really wonderful times this year. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of laughs on here as well. It's been really fun doing the show, and it's been really great having the college show and the betting show as well. I'd like to thank Adam, Sky, Gareth, Andrew, Alex as well. I also like to thank all of our partners who have put up with us committing every week multiple shows. I really, really appreciate that. From my own partner to everybody else's as well. I've not missed anyone. I've not missed anyone to thank, have I? I'd feel terribly awful if I missed anybody. Thank you again to everyone who has watched and supported us throughout this season, who has liked and subscribed to us on YouTube, who has followed us on any of the podcast platforms such as Apple and Spotify, who has liked our social media content, who has shared our social media content and followed us as well. We are always open to new opportunities as well coming into the off season, whether that be sponsorship, whether that be events, whether that be us guesting on shows as well. We've got a lot going on in this off season. Just because we are finished with the season doesn't mean we are finished. As you know, we do come back after a little bit of a hiatus with a lot of draft content, a lot of free agency content running all the way through to April and post draft. And then we obviously get our summer break. So a lot to come out. And over Andrew and Adam have already recorded a few shows already in regards to the draft. I know there is a top 10 quarterbacks coming out in this draft video coming up very soon. So make sure you keep your eyes out for that. Once again, thank you so much for the support. We really appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again very soon.